Hi guys, Jordan from P&P Campers. Just going to be doing a handover video on your Chausson 637. So this is a 2020 plate on the Ford Transit base. So Chausson, owned by a company called Trigano, so that's why you've got Trigano here written on your chassis plate. So you've got your chassis number and all of the weights to do with the axles on the van. So you've got 3.5 ton on this one, so you can drive on any car license. Other information under here, you've got your air conditioning info, so it just tells you the type of gas that it has and how much of it, and so you can go through and change that, or re-gas it in the future if you ever need to, with a couple of points which will be just having a little look-see. You've got two just here, so you've got one aircon one there, one low pressure and one high pressure. All right, so really easy to get to just there. Over on the left-hand side of the bonnet, we've got your washer fluid reservoir here, brake fluid just here at the top attached to the servo behind it. You've got your engine oil filling point from this little cap just here at the top. The engine oil dipstick is the little yellow capped one just down here at the front. This reservoir here is your power steering fluid, which should be a nice red colour, as you can see. Your air filter sits inside this box just here at the top, so really easy to access that as well. Obviously we have done a service on the vehicle, so these little bits and pieces would have been changed, but just sort of pointing you out where these things are. Because the engine battery sits under the driver's seat on these Transits, they do quite nicely give you a positive terminal just here under the bonnet. So if you want to jump start the van, you've got a positive terminal here, and it does actually tell you here to use the engine hoist, which is this part just here, as your negative strap. So basically positive here, negative on the earth, on the engine hoist bit just there, and that will then be able to jump start the vehicle. Your engine coolant is this reservoir over here on the right hand side. All right, so you can see there, just at a bit of a funny angle, so it's just at the maximum line, which is perfect for a cold engine. So that is about it for under the bonnet. There's not much else I can show you under there. So when I open up the near side door, you can probably see a couple of things. We've got a lock and unlock button on the actual passenger door itself. The front seats do swivel round by pulling on these little handles here. All right, so you've got one on both of the front seats, and that will then allow you to spin the seats all the way around. Inside these two little flaps, you have got your diesel filling point at the top and your AdBlue filling point below that. They do say, you'll see that on the front of this thing here, it does say Webasto. Make sure that you turn off your diesel heater before trying to fill up the van. Although, to be honest, you should never have your heating going when you're driving anyway. So I'll show you into that in a little minute. So next thing we get to on the near side here is this is probably the most important locker on the van, to be honest. So I'll just go into a bit more detail with this one. So on the left-hand side here, you can see I've opened up this little cover, and essentially this is your electronics unit. So everything electronic is inside this little area here. So we've got your 240 volt trip switches in there. We've got the 12 volt fuses in the middle just there. Each fuse has got a little diagram above it or below it telling you exactly what it does and what size it should be. So if you ever have any problems with anything 12 volt, you can have a little look in there if you want to. So next thing over is your mains charger. So when you're plugged in on the mains, you can have this on. Basically you can see if it's on or not because you have a little red light down in the bottom corner. So that's your main electronic unit there. Really simple to use, and really nice that it's all in one place. A lot of the time you'll find that all three of those things will be sort of dotted around the van in different areas, but this is all in one nice place, so you can get to it all nice and easily. Next to that, on the right, we've got your freshwater tank. So the filling point is this one just here as you twist it out. So you take this cap off and then fill up the fresh tank from there. You've then got your freshwater drain off point, which is from this little handle here. Lift it up and the water comes pumping out through there. The other positive to having this type of fresh tank is that you can actually take this cap off and get your hand in there and sort of clean it out. So it does give you really good access to the fresh tank. So that is that locker just there. Nice and simple, but it means that you've got everything in one place and yeah, it just makes your life a lot easier. Next door to that, we've got your electric hookup point. So your electric hookup means that, as in when you have it plugged in, it means that you'll be able to use any of your 3-pin sockets, like a household socket. It means that any of your mains powered appliances will spring to life. And it also means that your battery charger will come on, meaning that you don't have to worry about the voltage in your leisure battery. So you can just use it and use it and use it. And you won't have to worry about the battery voltage going down. Next thing we get to is your toilet cassette locker. So to remove the toilet cassette, we lift up on the orange handle here at the front and pull the cassette towards you. Once you've got it to here, you'll be able to take the cassette all the way out and take it to wherever you need to go to drain it out. To actually physically drain it, you twist this open and take this cap off. A little bit tight, but there you go. Take the cap off and drain it from there. When you're draining it, you need to hold down the little orange button here at the back, and that will just basically release a little bit of pressure whilst it's being drained. Once you've drained it out, you put 1 cap's worth of the blue fluid back inside the cassette, give it a little swoosh around, and then push it all the way back home, making sure that the little orange handle clips over its little bit down there. This vent just here, so this is your boiler vent. I have taken the cover off of this so that you can see how it should look. So this is the way that your boiler vent needs to look when you're using it. If you try and light the boiler up with that cover still on, it will not light up because it hasn't got any airflow going inside. So you need to make sure that you take that cover off before you start trying to use the boiler. So at the back of the van, so don't worry, we haven't cleaned the van just yet, so it will have a good scrub off before it gets collected. But on the back of the van, we have got your 4-bike rack. I would say this has been fitted on the factory fitted rails, all right, because they do tend to come with these rails pre-fitted. So it might have been an optional thing from factory, I'm not sure. So Fiamma bike rack, this is the more modern one. You can see you've got all of your handles here for the top of the bikes and all of your straps for on the wheels. This locker just here, I will just twist it open so we can have a little look-see. Huge amount of garage space in here. All right, so you've got the twin fixed single beds in this one, so you can get to this storage space from inside the van by lifting the bed up. Down below here, just behind the offside rear wheel, we have got your wastewater drain off point. So the wastewater will come out literally just by pulling on this handle to where it is now. If you want to close the drain off, push it all the way back in, and that will stop any water from draining out from that point down there. I'll leave it open for now so that anything that I put down the taps, or down the sink, sorry, will go out onto the floor. You can probably see by this angle just here just how nice the bodywork is on this van. It's never been painted or anything like that. It's just really well kept. Of course we need to give it a good clean, but yeah, it's looking really nice. We've got the full-size Fiamma wind out awning up here. This is an F45S awning, and this will come out, well, I mean, probably further than this van just here, so it's a really good size awning, these ones. These 2 vents just here are both to do with the fridge. So if you've got the fridge lit up on gas, you will hear a little bit of a whirring noise down here in the bottom right hand side. That's perfectly normal. Awning light just here, so that's obviously for, you know, if you've got the awning out, you can still see underneath it. And then the last thing on this side, on the off side, is going to be your gas locker. So the gas locker in here is big enough for a 13 kilo propane bottle. At the moment we've got a 6 kilo in because these are the ones that we keep in stock. So this is a new bottle. So to turn the bottle on, we go anti-clockwise around to the left, like so. And to turn it off, we go clockwise all the way around to the right, like so. So we've got 5 years on the pigtail hose, so you've got till 28 to replace this one. And all of the rest of it back there on the actual regulator, you haven't got to do anything with that. You just leave it as it is. And yeah, that's honestly it. So make sure that you turn the gas bottle off before you start driving. That's really important. But otherwise, that is about it for the gas. So what I'll do is I will just jump into the cab and then show you what we've got going on in here. So this particular vehicle has got just shy of 6,000 miles. So it's got 5,900 miles. So to be honest, it has barely been used. This van is like new. and so the next owner of this van is going to be very happy with it. So with these vehicles, you do get a little bit of storage space up here. So if you can lift this up, it's a little bit awkward with one hand, but you can get into there if you want to. Oh, you've got a little button just there, giving you a little bit of space there. Your electric adjusting mirrors is by just literally selecting which mirror you want to move and then move it around like a little joystick. Basically, it's really, really easy. We've then got your lights from this little center dial here. So you've got side lights and main beam. You can then adjust your headlight aim by popping this little bit out and then turning it around to match up with the numbers on the side. We have got your fog lights, front and rear, and that's it. On the door, we have got the same as on the other side. You can lock and unlock the cab from here, and obviously on this side you've got both your electric windows there. So this is a 6-speed manual gearbox. All right, so reverse is by lifting up on the back here, pushing up and over to the top left hand side. On the steering wheel, we've got the cruise control options on here, so that would have been an optional extra. So we've got the limiter. You can use a limiter by pressing on it just here on the right, or you can set your actual cruise control. So you can set the speed by going up and down like so, and you can cancel it and resume it by pulling on the bit at the back just here. So it's really, really easy. Have a little play with that if you want to. On the steering wheel as well, we've got your things over here. So this is basically all just to do with the radio. So you can go through and select things on there. You can change and change the volume and adjust the skip songs and all that sort of thing on that one. Indicators and flashing your headlights is on the left hand side. Washers and wipers are on the right. Pretty standard stuff, really. In the center, we have got the sort of double DIN sized head unit, if you like. So again, it's not really much that I tend to explain on these. You can connect up your phone to it, so you can answer and decline phone calls and things like that from there if you want to. You have got the reversing camera up here as well, so that will spring to life as soon as you put the ignition on, and you can have a look behind you at all times if you want to. Obviously mainly used for reversing, but it's up to you how you want to use it. As I said, on the outside you have got aircon, and the aircon is powered by this little switch just here, so you will need to have that on if you want the aircon to work. But other than that, I think that is about all I can show you in the cab. Oh, tell a lie, it's not. On the doors and on the windscreen here, you've got the full cab blinds. So when you squeeze on these two little buttons just here, squeeze them together, and that will allow you to release the blind. Pull it all the way up to the front like that, and it meets this little magnetic strip just there. The windscreen is exactly the same, apart from the fact that they meet together in the middle, and the magnetic strips just meet together, and that's how they hold together on the windscreen. So be really delicate with these. They're not very strong, but as long as you get them in straight and they go back okay, then they're fine. So what I'll do is I will jump into the back of the van and show you what we've got in here. So I've got this little mat down here so I don't make it too messy. They have cleaned the inside, so thought I'd do them a favour there and save it from getting muddy. So first things first, we've got the control panel just here inside the habitation door. So basically you've got a main power switch on the left hand side at the top, and when that's green it means that the power is on. We've then got internal lights from this little button here. You'll see that all the internal lights spring to life when I turn this button on and off. We've then got your water pump and your external light, which is your awning light. So if you see there, turning on and off when I press that button. At the bottom, we've got all of your scales basically. So if I press on this one just here, it will show us our habitation battery level. If I press this one here, it shows us our engine battery level. And if I press this one, it shows us our freshwater level. Okay, so they're your 3 level indicators. If the waste tank becomes full, you'll get a little light coming up against this little symbol here, and that will just basically be telling you to go and empty out the waste tank. On the bottom right, we've got your brightness on the screen. So when I press this button here, it tells us the brightness is at maximum. If I press and hold the button, it will change the brightness for us to whatever we want it to be. I'm going to leave it on maximum because I find that's easier. Now, the only other two things on this control panel are these two little symbols on the right. Now, basically, when you start the engine up and the split relay starts working, the top light will come on, and that just tells you that the split relay is working. And just briefly, split relay is basically a relay that separates, or sorry, not separates, a relay that joins together the engine battery to the habitation battery or your leisure battery. So basically, when your engine's running, the engine is physically charging up the leisure battery whilst you're running. So it means that when you get to where you're going, you'll be fully charged. So when your engine's running, if the split relay is working, you should have a little light come up here next to this. And the last one, this one just here below it, is your electric hookup. So if your hookup's plugged in and working, you'll have a little light come up here next to this one. And that is it. That's the control panel. Nice and easy. So, next thing is probably just going to be the kitchen area, really. So the kitchen area in this is pretty simple. We've got a 2-burner hob on the right hand side with a ignition switch. Okay, so basically just push in and round whilst pressing on your ignition. Just allow that gas to come through a little bit. There you go. So your gas burner there, one on each side, as you can see. Now, we have tested the thermocouples on these, so basically means that the thermocouples mean that you won't be able to draw gas through here unless they're actually burning, which basically means that you won't be able to fill the van up with gas that's unburnt. Okay, so they've been tested as part of the hab check. Below that, we've got your oven and grill. Sorry, it's just a grill on this one, my apologies. So you've basically just got a valve on the right hand side which you push in and round to allow the gas to come through, and a piezo ignition just here to actually spark the thing up. I can't do it with one hand because it's not quite big enough, but you get the idea. It's pretty simple stuff. Just below that, we have got your gas isolator taps, I believe. Oh no, not there, in the one next door, sorry. So your gas isolators, essentially, these are just isolators for if you think you've got an issue with an appliance specifically. So the idea is that you can isolate specific appliances. So you don't need to do that every time you get out of the van. Turning the gas off in the locker is the best way to isolate it from outside. But if you know, for example, you're on holiday and you think, oh, I think my gas burners are leaking, then you can have a little look in here, see which one your gas burners are, which is the one in the middle, and you can isolate it by turning it 90 degrees. And that'll just stop any gas going to that one appliance. A little bit of storage in here, and your cutlery tray. So, all the soft closed doors on here, apart from the bottom one there, the sliding ones are soft close. That was funny because I just said it and it, yeah. So, a little bit of extra worktop space here as well. All right, so it's quite a strong little drawer there, so you can push that all the way back in again and lock it if you want to, like so. Right, what I will do. So the water system on the motorhomes is something that I tend to spend a little bit of time explaining because it's quite an important topic. So essentially, with the freshwater tank, we can see there we've got a little bit of fresh water in the tank, not a huge amount, but just enough to get us by for now. Now, you've got two systems on here, I like to explain it. You've got a cold water system and a hot water system. Now, the hot water system has to fill the boiler up first before it will get to the tap. So essentially, unless the boiler is completely full, you will not get any water coming through on the hot side of the tap. All right, because it's first in line before the tap. So it's really important to make sure that the boiler's full up before you start trying to use it, because if you try and light the boiler up when it's empty, you're going to run into some serious problems. It'll probably overheat and you may need to get a new boiler. So you do not want to do that. So it's good practice to basically every time you get in the van, it's good practice to just double check that the boiler's full. And the only way to do that is by turning on your water pump and then just lifting up the tap on the hot side. So if we do that now. So I've got really good pressure. It's not coughing and spluttering and going all over the place. And when I turn the tap off, the pump turns itself off straight away afterwards. So that is a really good indication telling me that there's no leaks inside the van because the pump's got itself back to pressure and turned itself off, and the boiler's full up because the water's coming through nice and clearly on the tap. So really simple, but a very important thing to do before you start trying to use the boiler and all that sort of thing. All right. Now, on that same topic, just whilst we're on that point, the reason that you have to check that the boiler is full, it's not just a pointless thing to do. You have to do that because you have got a boiler drain off point. So the boiler in this van is this black unit here at the back, which, by the way, has its own isolator tap for the gas. So if you think you've got an issue with the boiler and you think the gas is leaking, you can isolate it from that little valve just there. Now, the boiler drain off point is your little yellow tab just down there. Okay, so basically the idea behind having that is that when you want to what you might call winterize the van, you would have to lift that little tab upright, and basically every single drop of water from inside that boiler will then drain out onto the floor. So that's how you would winterize the van. Now, that's fine, and that's what you need to do in the winter. It's really important to stop the boiler going wrong, but it then means that you have to refill the boiler when you next go to use it. So to do that, you would just lay the valve back down flat like it is now, and then do what I've just done there at the tap. Literally just draw the water through on the hot side of the tap and wait for the air to disperse from the tap. As soon as the water starts coming through nice and clearly like it did a minute ago, then you can turn it off, you can know that the boiler is full up, and you can just go from there. But as I said, because you've got a drain off point, it's really important to just double check that the boiler is definitely full before you start trying to use it. So hopefully that makes sense. I'll just drop this little cover back in here. A little bit awkward with one hand, but there you go. So you can see just how easy that bed lifts out as well. It's quite sturdy because it's brand new. Obviously it's not really been used very much, so there you go. So that is the water system sort of explained. So what's next? We have got the heating. The heating in this particular van is a Webasto heater, as I mentioned on the outside. So a Webasto heater is basically a diesel heater. All right, a lot of Chaussons use these Webasto diesel heaters, probably because, I don't know if this is a fact, but these Webasto heaters are unbelievably reliable, and we very, very rarely get any issues with them. So basically, if you want to use your heating, as long as you've got over a quarter of a tank of fuel in your tank, you can just literally twist the button there and set your temperature, and that is it. You literally turn the button round, and as long as that little symbol in there goes green, the diesel heater will now be springing to life. And that genuinely is it. That's all you have to do. So as I mentioned, you do need to make sure that you've got at least a quarter of a tank of fuel in your fuel tank, because basically when they fit these units, they're supposed to tap into the tank about a quarter of the way up. And the reason for that is that it then means that you won't be able to use up all of your fuel in the tank. If you tapped into the bottom of the tank, then of course you could use all of the water, sorry, not all the water, all of the fuel from inside the tank through that diesel heater and just run it dry, and then you'll be stuck in a field somewhere without being able to start the van. So that's why they have to tap into it about a quarter of the way up, so that you'll always have at least a quarter of a tank of fuel in the tank. All right, so it's not always exactly a quarter of a tank, by the way. It's just, wherever they've done it from new. But as I say, it won't be from the underneath because you won't be able to drain it out. So that is how we'd use the diesel heater. When you want to turn it off, all the way back round to 0, making sure that the green light goes off. And that's it. That's your heating. So up here above the fridge, we have got your factory fitted, I believe it's a factory fitted solar controller. So that is a duo controller as well, by the way. So that means that your, if I just zoom in a little bit, it means that your leisure battery, which will be battery 1, and your engine battery are both being charged at the same time. So all the time that there's sunlight on the roof of this van, both engine and leisure are being charged up. Next door to that, the thing that says max view on it, that is your booster for the TV aerial. So you can see it's on at the moment. It's not really a problem being on because it doesn't use much power whatsoever. Basically that will turn on and off when you turn the power on with your control panel. So I think the next logical thing to show you would be the fridge. So this is our Thetford 3-way fridge. So this is, well, what I know to be the latest sort of fridge that you can get, really. And this is actually an AES fridge as well. So that means automatic energy selecting. So it means basically that you've got the option of this little A symbol here. Now, if I flick through here, I can choose all 3 different options, and I've got the option of the A at the end. Now, as I said, the A, as I say, it's a 3-way fridge. So the A option, the automatic option, will just choose one of those 3 options for you, depending on what you have available. So at the moment, I have the gas on, I don't have the hookup plugged in, and I don't have the engine running. So the only way that I can use this fridge is on the gas. So even if I wanted to select it manually, I would have to go through and select the gas option, and it would light up on the gas. We've then got our temperature selector on the right, like so, and that's it. So, as I said, if you're hooked up on the mains, you can select your mains electric, which is this one. If your engine's running, you can select this one here, which is your 12 volt. Now, the 12 volt doesn't work when your engine's not running because, as I mentioned earlier, you've got the split relay, which runs from the engine side to the leisure side. Now, the fridge on 12 volt runs on that split relay system. So it will not have any power going to the 12 volt option unless the engine is physically turning over. So the idea behind how you use these fridges is you've got gas and the mains electric. They are the only 2 ways that will get the fridge cold from warm. Okay, so when you want to actually get the fridge cold from warm, so like right now, the fridge hasn't been on for a few days. So if I wanted to get the fridge cold now, I'd have to use either the gas or the mains electric. The idea behind the 12 volt option is to just literally keep the temperature inside the fridge just for whilst you're driving. So it's not powerful enough to get the fridge cold by itself. And it would mean that you'd have to leave the engine running for 2 or 3 hours anyway. So you have to make sure that you pre-cool the fridge before you leave to go anywhere on either the gas or the mains, and then switch over to the 12 volt just for when you're driving. When you get to where you're going, switch back to one of the other 2, and that's the way that you would use any motorhome fridge. I will also mention that it will not take half an hour to get this fridge cold. It will take more like 2 or 3 hours. So please make sure that if you are going to go away on holiday tomorrow or whenever you're going to go, make sure that you pre-cool it well in advance before you leave. Otherwise, you know, you're going to be quite disappointed when you get to where you're going. It won't be completely cold. So sometimes I like to recommend that if you do have the option of leaving it on overnight before you leave, that's the ideal situation. But obviously it's up to you whether you want to leave it on gas overnight or hook up or whatever. So yeah. So in this particular van, the layout in here is actually brilliant. So you've got these huge single beds here at the back. Absolutely loads of storage up and over on top of the beds here. So you know, it's not going to cause you any problems because your legs would be down here. That's why they fit them like this. But you've got a massive wardrobe. I mean, genuinely, it is a really, really big wardrobe. I'm not just saying that for the video. And another one over here as well. So this is already giving you more space, more storage space than you would get in your average motorhome, even though this one's so short as well. Tons of storage up over the top as well, all the way around. And lots of natural light coming in from big side windows. And you've got the turbo vent up here as well, which we have cleaned out up underneath. So, the bathroom is probably the next logical thing to show you. So, in here we've got your toilet area here in the middle. So, basically, you know, this whole area is waterproof. You can pull this little thing over across here, and that will sort of stop anything from getting too badly into the windows and stuff. But as I said, it is all completely waterproof and meant to be used as it is. Now you've got this strap just here, which will allow you to pull this screen all the way across. Okay, so you can have it like this if you want to. Otherwise, pushing it all the way back like so, and then basically you just strap this back around. It's a little bit awkward with one hand, but there you go. You can do it. So we've literally got hot and cold tap here for the shower. So that, you know, that just is what it is. You don't need me to explain that. Hot and cold tap for the sink there as well. Now, the only part that I tend to actually explain in the motorhome bathrooms is the toilet, in case you haven't used one of these Thetford toilet cassettes before. So basically, you've got a blue button at the back. When I press the blue button, you'll see flush water pumping around into the cassette or into the bowl. You would then go to the toilet and then drain it out using this handle here. So push this to the right, and you see there it all drains out into the cassette. Now you need to make sure that you pull this handle back towards you again once you've drained it out, because two reasons. If you don't pull that flap back over, every single smell from inside that cassette is going to come back up into the van, which we don't want. But also it means that the cassette will be locked in position. When that drain is open, the cassette is locked. All right, and if you do pull the cassette out when that is in the open position, it means that you've broken the cassette. So make sure that you close that back over whenever you're done. Light switch just there for in the bathroom. Nice little LED lights behind everything there. So really nice and smart. There's LEDs all over this van, so really low power lights make a huge difference in a motorhome. So the last thing that I need to show you, or the last appliance at least, is going to be the boiler. Now you've got the option on this van actually of using the boiler on the mains or on the gas. So you have got, on the left hand side is our gas option. So basically if you want to get the water hot on the gas, you go up for 50 or down for 70. And that is your two temperatures for the water. And that is honestly all you have to do. Up or down, 50 or 70. It worked in a very similar way for the electric. So this is when you're hooked up on the mains. You quite literally just go up for a certain amount of power and down for the, twice the amount. So it's normally, and don't hold me to this, but it's normally about 4 and 8 amps. Okay. So there are your two options for the boiler. I've already explained to you how you have to make sure that the boiler is definitely full, but they are the two options for getting the water hot. Now these will take a good half an hour or so to actually get the water completely hot, but yeah, it doesn't take too long. Yeah, so there you go. The reason, just by the way, without trying to sort of chew your ear off and bore you about it too much, but the reason that these fridges take a little while to actually get cold is because they have to use a coolant system in the back. So basically the coolant system has to get hot in order to chemically react and make it cold. So, if you imagine if you've got a new fridge at home and plugged it in, it's not going to be cold within half an hour. It's going to take a good couple of hours to get completely cold. And it's the same with the motorhome fridges. It works exactly the same sort of way with the coolant in the back of it and all that sort of thing. So you just have to bear with it on that one. And again, it's the same with every motorhome fridge. It's not just this one. So there you go. So paperwork for the van is in this brown folder just here. TV up there and a TV remote. We don't really tend to get involved with the tellies that much because we don't, we do fit them if the customers ask for one. But ones that have already been in the van and left by a previous owner, it's not, we don't really warrant them and stuff like that. But have a go with it. I'm sure it all works. You can see it's powered up there anyway. So there you go. So, yeah, I think I've covered everything. I don't think there's anything I've missed out. But if there is, then please just give us a shout and let me know. I'll go through anything else with you. But otherwise, we look forward to seeing you soon. Thanks very much.